growthtofreedom.com. Freedom is the new capital, and we're helping leaders, executives, business owners, and you transform your career, business, life, and relationships. This is the Growth to Freedom Show. Now, here is your host, Dan Kuschell.
Welcome to growthtofreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships. I have a question for you today. Do you believe that you can achieve wealth, success, prosperity? Do you believe that you deserve to be able to go out and live a life of freedom, peace, harmony? Do you believe that you are ready to go to the next level? Well, today's show, we have a very special expert, someone who's a great friend that I've gotten a chance to know over the last 15 years, not only as a friend, but also us working together in business together in different levels of partnership. He's a media expert. He's a business and marketing innovator. He's a best-selling author of this book here that we're going to talk a lot about if you're watching right now. It's called The Profit. Here's a question. Are you ready to learn how to 10x your life, your influence, and business success? Well, today's show is going to show you how to do just that. But before we begin, let's face it, we're at one of the most interesting times in human history, right? Where, the future allows us to accomplish more than ever before. Technology is supposed to be simplifying things. But let me ask you a question. With all of that going on, why is the divorce rate what it is today? Why are people distressed doing what they do? Why are people so stressed out? I don't know. Do you ever find yourself, waking up at 3, 4 in the morning in a cold sweat, wondering what your next step is going to be? I've been there, right? Or how about wondering what you're going to do to be able to provide for your kids? What are you going to do to be able to get that next level in your career, right? Well, the reality is that, although technology is advanced, the future is advanced, people are unhappy. Statistics show, I saw an article in Forbes the other day that talked about over 56% of people are wanting to leave their careers. That's sad. 56% are unhappy in their current situation. In addition, social media, right, which is the big fad, with Twitter and Facebook and all these social media platforms, it's documented to be just as detrimental as smoking, because what it does, it taps into the addictive side of the mind, right? And this is what our kids are buying. I think about this for my 9-year-old, my 7-year-old, right? I know the gentleman you're going to get a chance to meet with, he's not only an expert innovator, marketer, business person, best-selling author, but he's a dad, he's a husband, and he's a great friend, right? And he's going to talk to you about how to 10x your influence, your life, your business. Josh, welcome to the show, my friend.
Thank you so much, Dan. I appreciate the time with you and your audience here.
Awesome. Well, I'd love to dive right into it. You have this incredible new book, right, called How to 10X Your Life, Influence, and Business Success. You certainly have had an incredible track record. I know we worked together, and we were fortunate to do some incredible things. We transform, the way a lot of business is even done today, online and off, in marketing and education and, providing content and different platforms of that nature.
Yeah,
so you've had all
what?
this.
I just realized, I'm sorry to cut you off.
Yeah.
I just realized that we 10x'd your business success.
Yes, absolutely. And then some.
In less than 2 years.
In less than 2 years, yes.
Yeah, it went from about 2 million to about 20 million.
Give or take, yes. Yep.
Pretty cool.
It is pretty cool. And so you're certainly uniquely qualified to talk about being, a profit, if you will, how to 10x your life, business, and success overall. But I want to back up for a second, right? Because, as our viewers, our listeners get a chance to hone in on the shows, they hear about all kinds of success. But I want to back up to, if you can remember a low point, or maybe your lowest point or your biggest mistake that you've made in business, and go there for a second.
One?
Yeah, just one. Let's just start with one. What would you say, if you had to pick one, has been your lowest point in business, and what did you learn from it? And most importantly, for your daughter Amy and for your wife Kathy, what would you say has been the transformation that came out of it?
Well, the ebbs and flow of being a serial entrepreneur and the realities of that is that you're always in the mud, the blood, and the flood. And I think for myself, there's been one symptom there wasn't a specific defining moment of a big failure in my life. There's been several, but the root cause of it is when I lost sight of my vision for what my purpose in the world was supposed to be, what I wanted to contribute, what I wanted to give, what I wanted to deliver in terms of value and my mission. And I got distracted by the numbers, by the success, and I got distracted by, how can I build a bigger following? How can I get more buyers? How can I make more money? How can I become the best and the baddest on the block, so to speak? And anytime I got distracted from there, I've always started with the end in mind about the vision of what I wanted to deliver and what I wanted to give in the world. But I call it the success paradox, or the trap, if you will, where you hit these walls and all of a sudden you wake up and you're not happy, you're not fulfilled. And while you may be making a great deal of money success-wise, I know for me that the last time that this happened, it took me, my goal in life, because growing up broke and being a New York City street kid and, kind of doing whatever it took for shortcuts or whatnot to get to my end goal, my vision for myself was always to become a millionaire. And I was always chasing that dollar, and that led me to some interesting things like pursuit of personal development, which were all very positive, the pursuit of, feeding my mind and working on myself harder than I worked on my business. But that all happened as by accident, because in the beginning I was chasing the dollar and I wanted to get rich. And to me, that was because I wanted to, I didn't know it at the time, but I just wanted the freedom that I felt being a millionaire represented and would give me. And what happened is that it took me, I guess, 32, 33 years to do it the first time. And it felt good, awesome, it turned me inside out for about a minute. And then it was no longer satisfying because the same core pain inside I hadn't addressed, I hadn't worked on, but I didn't know it. So for the next 10 years, from the time that I was about 32 till about 42, I had many successes and many failures, but I never stopped long enough to evaluate what was really going on. And then I guess it was 2008, so it's kind of a long answer to your very simple, short question. But 2008, I started feeling, although I had all the money in the world, I started feeling depressed. I started feeling like nothing mattered. I wasn't making a difference. I started drinking a whole bunch. I was avoiding doing the things in my business that I know that I should have. And I just was bored. I just wasn't fulfilled. I felt empty inside. And even though there was a ton of money to be made, I wasn't feeling satisfied. I wasn't feeling like my life had any meaning whatsoever. So I did what I don't suggest anybody does, frankly. In 2009, I dealt with it for about a year and a half, those feelings, and then I just pulled the plug in May of 2009 and shut everything down. And I don't recommend people doing that because there's a way that, luckily I went through the journey so that hopefully people don't have to do that. They can make the transitions and do it in a gradual standpoint. They don't have to start all over from scratch. But what happened for me was that I put that backpack down and, on the hike to up the mountain. And because I wanted to decide, what's next for me? What do I want to do when I grow up? What do I want to really be and do and have? I had a healthy reserves in my war chest, and I just didn't know what was going to thrill me. So I tried a bunch of things, but I didn't stay in motion fast enough, and I didn't stay in action and in I didn't keep in touch with my vision. So what happened is that I lost confidence in my own abilities. I lost the courage to move forward gradually. It was sneaky, it doesn't happen, all at once. So after about a year of, kind of like figuring out what I wanted to do next, I realized that I was in a full-fledged depression, and I was scared to make a move. I started doubting whether I had the mojo anymore, whether I could do what needed to be done. And so for the next, from about 2010 to 2013, I fell into a deep hole of depression. So, and it wasn't until 2013, 2014 that I started pulling myself out, and it was a gradual pulling out. But that's really what this book is about keeping track and balancing it all and having it all. It's about igniting your inner entrepreneur, your superpowers of your inner entrepreneur. And I believe everybody has an inner entrepreneur, but it's about igniting that inner entrepreneur superpowers in a balanced way so that it attracts both. I think this is key, both great material wealth and spiritual happiness without sacrificing your integrity.
Oh, that's so profound. There's a lot of wisdom, Joshua, in what you're sharing overall, and I think we've both learned from Dan Sullivan, which he got from AA and a 12-step program, which is the first progress starts by telling the truth. And number one, I appreciate your vulnerability. I like to ask this question. I actually learned this from a good friend of ours that I want to introduce you to, Dr. Jeremy Weiss in Chicago, who runs InspiredInsiders.com, and he has a different twist on it. But I think people can relate to the story, the journey that we all go through. You can look at someone on the outside and see this certain picture of success, and you certainly have gotten it. And compared to many, you still have it. But the reality is that there's these struggles we all face, and there's some area that's missing for many of us, and we have to learn how to balance them. And at the end of the day, what I appreciate about you that speaks to me is finding your superpower and ultimately what it is for you that feeds your significance. And that's what this show is about, ladies and gentlemen. It's about helping you ignite that significance, ignite your purpose, ignite that meaning. And Joshua is certainly qualified to show you how to be able to do that. In fact, his book that we're going to get into a lot more here right around the corner is 3 books in one. And he's going to talk about you and your personal leadership. We're going to talk about, the ability to lead others, as well as about business preeminence. And in fact, to give you a snapshot of what you're about to learn is we're going to show you how to activate your own profit halo that positions you as a trusted advisor. It renders the competition irrelevant. It makes people stand in line and beg to qualify as a candidate to work with you, right? What would that be worth? And it's not silver tongue selling, convincing, or closing needed, or no wasting time defending or justifying why you're better. This is about where the rubber meets the road. Simple, practical strategies that you can put in place starting today. I mean, I have to ask you, as you're watching, as you're listening, is that what you want? Do you want to be able to live a life of meaning, of significance, on purpose? Do you want to learn from someone who not only has achieved what most people would call immeasurable success, unstoppable success, and helped hundreds of thousands of people do it, but also someone who's also battled some of those obstacles, those dangers that pop up along the way? Well, guess what? You're going to learn that and a whole lot more with Joshua Shafran here on GrowthToFreedom.com right after this. Welcome back to GrowthToFreedom.com, the show that helps you transform your life, business, and relationships. To summarize the first segment of the show, we've got Joshua Shafran. He's an expert at business and marketing innovation. He's a media expert. He's a best-selling author of this book here, The Profit. I'm going to talk to you about how you can get your hands on this today. Of course, you can go get it off of Amazon, but we'll talk about a special gift package that he's created for you. By the way, our show is brought to you today by Done For You Solutions. And yes, we do have a special resource package we're going to talk about. The first segment of the show, we've been talking about, where you get started. A lot of us, don't see a meteoric rise right out of the gate. We have bumps along the road, and Joshua's been sharing what I believe to be one of the number one critical skills we all need for success, and that's vulnerability and being able to tell the truth, right? And here's a fact for everyone. It doesn't matter where you've been. It only matters where you want to go, and the past does not equal the future. In order for things to change, we've got to be willing to change, and what Joshua's been talking about is where he came from. Now, Joshua, what I'd love for you to share is we're going to get into a lot of the strategies in the book, right? What would you say as you've gone through this journey, this transformation over the last couple years, of hitting some of these bumps in the road? What would you say today are some of the top personal rituals you use, right? And you teach. I know you teach thousands of people all over the world that you use to be your best self, your most productive self, if you will, on a daily basis.
It's a great question. I think rituals are awesome, and I think that they're really useful and helpful in the beginning. I think also we've got to be careful with rituals that we know what to do when they don't have the same effectiveness for us, because as we grow, the same rituals don't continue to provide the same value because we've grown beyond their needs and means. So I think that the biggest thing for me now, looking back on it, is to know that I've got my the self-reliance, that I've got my internal guidance system, and that I can go inside and listen to it. If I can quiet out all the static, all the noise, all the doubt, all the fear, and there's all sorts of techniques for that and rituals for that. And for me, what I do very effectively now is meditate. But my meditation rituals change almost week by week. Sometimes I just listen to guided meditations on my iPod. Sometimes I just sit there and get real still and quiet my mind and get rid of the thoughts. Sometimes I listen to some great self-help stuff or spiritual stuff, and I get in touch on a spiritual level, though, and this is going to sound a little wooey-wooey, a little weird, but it's not so much the words, it's the music behind the words that I get in touch to, and I feel it on a soul level so that I can quiet myself down. The purpose of that is not necessarily to learn or to do something or to get some action, it's so that I can quiet my static so that I can hear the truth coming through from the universe and the guidance that sometimes I get distracted by and forget. And that's, I think, one of your gifts, Dan, is you have the ability to really help center people very quickly and get them back to, hearing that inner guidance. And so for me, the rituals are important, but more important than that is to recognize that we have within us, all of us, I believe, the divine guidance home, so to speak. It's a homing pigeon, if you will. And we just have to remember that and not let our fear and our doubt get in the way, because it just covers it up. We're all have this connection. We all have this voice inside of us that calls for us to be more, to do more, to share our gifts with the world. And we all have unique gifts that only we as individuals can share with the world, that only we can give. And I think it's really important, whatever ritual, whatever technique, and I have many of them myself that I share. I mean, one of the things that I do is, if you want just a down-to-earth, strategy, every week, I don't do this as much anymore, but I used to use what I call my WMN compass, where every week I would take an inventory of what's working, what's missing, and what's next. And I would think about, those three key questions, and they're asked in a very specific way. What's working? Always start with what's working, because if you look for the positive, it's never all bad. It's never all negative. And whatever you focus on expands. So if you start with what's working and you notice that and take notice of that, then you immediately feel lighter. You immediately feel more empowered. What's missing is, instead of asking yourself what's not working, what's missing moves you to the next stage of the WMN compass to put you back on track, is that if you think about what's missing in light of what's working, then you can tic-tac towards what's next and get take some action. And if you can think of yourself as a like Sheldon Cooper on The Big Bang Theory,
yes,
where he's a scientist and he wears his white lab coat, and don't get emotionally attached when you're asking yourself these questions. Just say, isn't that interesting? Whatever the result is, isn't that interesting? That I did this and this happened. So if I say that I want to go here, and here's, I think, one of the biggest, simultaneously the biggest secrets to success and also the biggest lies about success, is that success is never a straight line. You're always tic-tacking. You're always zigzagging. You're always off course on your goal. But if you're taking weekly inventories, whether it's, using my WMN compass to keep you on track, or whether it's because you're, using some other technique to find your true north, so to speak, and keep on course, then you can always tic-tac your way. So when you're doing the what's working, what's missing, what's next technique, for example, and you're taking a weekly inventory, and you're saying to yourself, what's working is, that I'm actually doing this, that I'm in touch with this. What's working is that I've got elements of my life that are positive. I've got some people that are really supporting me and stand behind me. What's working is that I stopped spending so much time on Facebook and I started spending some time journaling. What's working is blah, blah, blah. What's missing is that I'm still not getting the success that I want to get. I didn't get far enough down the road, so to speak, to where it's going. So what's missing is some knowledge, perhaps, or some meaningful action that I think can take me to where I want to go. And the only question that really matters is, did what I did last week bring me closer to where I want to go or further away from where I want to be, where I say I want to be?
That's great.
And that's where Sheldon Cooper comes in, because he doesn't get emotionally attached to anything. He's a scientist, right? So it's beyond him. When he insults somebody and calls them stupid, he doesn't understand why they get mad. Because in his mind, that's the truth. You are stupid. So it's the same thing here. When you're evaluating, did what the actions that you took in the last week bring you closer to where you want to be or further away from where you want to be? That's the important part, is that just notice what happened, and now you can tic-tac a different way, and you can make a new decision. And like you said, the past doesn't equal the future. So you can that way you're always off course, but you're always on course towards getting where you want to go. You can zigzag your way and push off your obstacles and make these little small course corrections more frequently.
That's just some great simple advice. I mean, I use a version of your WNMN compass in our companies, in our team huddles. I use it with my kids. I use it with my family. In fact, for me, I always say, if it's good enough for my kids, it's good enough for everybody else too. And, I know you feel the same way. And so, one of the things as you're watching, as you're listening right now, to be thinking about is, how can you apply this in your daily life, with your family, with your business? And when we come back, I'm going to grill Joshua Shafran on why he wrote The Profit, how you get the ability to be a better influencer, better at leading teams, how to be able to build business preeminence, that and a whole lot more coming up with Joshua Shafran on growthtofreedom.com. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. Let's summarize the first two segments of the show. We've been talking with Joshua Shafran. He's a media expert, best-selling author of this book here, The Profit, How to 10X Your Life's Influence in Business Success. We've been talking about business rituals that you can put in place today to be a better you. We've been talking about the WMN compass, how to apply it. You're either moving closer or further away from your bigger future, your bigger vision. Now, Joshua, as you wrote this book, I know this is essentially, as I've had a chance to go through it in different excerpts here, this is a life's journey. I mean, literally, this is about 20 years worth of experience condensed into this incredible condensed book that you basically are giving people that life experience to transform the quality of their life. So I'm curious, knowing what you know now, right, on your journey, what would you recommend to like your daughter, Amy, or you've met my kids, Kyler and Kira, overall. What advice would you give them? Knowing what you know now, or maybe what advice would you give your 19-year-old self as far as doing it differently, or what you would do differently in building success that would translate to others?
Well, always keep it balanced, I think, is key. And by balance, I mean you've got to have, it begins and ends with my own personal vision for myself, and which really amounts to personal leadership and working on myself harder than anything else. But getting in touch with what's my gifts and really getting proud of that, because that builds confidence. And then from there, I've got to be able to share those gifts. But if I'm really passionate about my vision and my gifts and empowering the world and enrolling people in a bigger vision for themselves and showing a bigger future, then people are automatically attracted to that. That is very attractive in nature. And so there's not a lot of pushing or convincing necessary or even warranted. It's very attractive in nature because you're just doing your thing, and the people that resonate with your message sync up with you, and they can't get enough of you. They want to be a part of what you're about when you share your authentic self and your vision. So I think, number one is to be true for yourself, and then as you go into the influence, because, let's face it, in the world, we don't live in a vacuum. We have to interact with other people. We have to be able to communicate. But that could be awesome instead of it being hard work, instead of it being cumbersome. And I agree with you that with technology being what it is, I think, we all crave connection in the world. And that's where, the second big piece of the puzzle is influence comes in. It's really about moving and leading and providing a vision of empowerment, of a bigger future for other people, and it is giving people a sense of connection, that they're a part of something bigger than themselves. But you never need to forget or always remember that vision comes from you, and people are going to gravitate to that as long as you're being real. Don't act it. Don't try to fake it. Just be who you are and share freely your gifts with the world, and be proud of who you are, and don't be afraid of it. And it's okay to make mistakes. It's okay to. I think one piece of information that I would share is be okay to give yourself permission to fail. I didn't have real monetary success or otherwise until I gave myself permission to fail. I was always trying something, and I would get various stages of success or completion, and I'd always give up on it because I was trying to make it perfect, and I didn't want to give myself permission to fail. And I finally got my first taste of real success when I said, you know what, I'm just going to do this. It's I call it a process goal. I don't care what the outcome is. I'm not concerned with the outcome of the goal. I'm going to do this for X amount of time. I'm going to get this done. I'm going to do X. And whatever happens, fine. I'm freeing myself from that responsibility. The outcome doesn't matter. I've got to get this message out to the world, so I'm giving myself permission to fail. And lo and behold, that's within an 18-month window, I went from making $1,000 a month to being a cash millionaire within an 18-month period, and it was all incrementally in those steps. So, but I would say never lose sight of your vision, because as soon as you do, and your gifts, then everything else is built. It's a zero factor. Everything else falls to zero. So you can communicate your gifts very clearly, but you don't have. You ever hear the saying, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear what you're saying."
Yes.
That's kind of the you don't. It's not hard work. You just be true to who you are and trust that things will line up. And sometimes it's harder. Believe me, I know. With what I've gone through in the last 5 years, I know it's hard to sometimes trust and believe in yourself, particularly after you doubt everything and you start seeing ghosts everywhere. You know what I mean? But did I answer your question?
Absolutely. And so as you're watching, as you're listening right now, we want to help transform you from doubt to confidence. We want to help transform you from insecurity to security, to comfort, to certainty. And having the certainty to be able to go out there and be who you are, live in your gifts, live your vision, and transform the quality of your life to 10x your business, your success, and your ability to influence. So when we come back, we're going to go more into detail, some of Joshua Shafran's secrets and the profit out of 10x your life, business, and success. More on growthtofreedom.com right after this. Welcome back to growthtofreedom.com. We're coming down the home stretch, and we're talking with Joshua Shafran, the profit, how to 10x your life, influence, and business success. Let's recap the first three segments of the show. We've been talking about rituals. We've been talking about the WNN compass. We've been talking about how to live within your vision, within your gifts, the zero factor. And by the way, this last segment that Joshua talked about in the first chapter in pages 4150 to 54 on the permission to fail and the zero factor overall. And the quote that you shared, Joshua, "Who you are speaks so loudly, I can't hear who you really are." That is such a profound statement, isn't it?
Yep. It's actually, I can't hear what you're saying. In other words, the words that are coming out of your mouth don't matter. It's who you're being when you're saying them.
Yes. And speaking of that, looking at the book, again, this is a lifetime journey that you've put. I mean, there's just so much wisdom in here. You talk about let's get personal. I mean, you've got sample emails of how you get personal in your communication. You talk about business preeminence. So if we were to take the whole book, and this may be a little bit tough, so we may have to go rapid fire, but if you had to pick the one most important action step that our viewers, our listeners could take, besides getting your book, which I highly recommend, and we're going to share with you how you can do just that. But what would be one action step someone could take to, in your mind, to transform the quality of their life starting now, starting today?
Wow, that's not an easy question. There's so many, but I think the important thing is that quit looking for magic bullets. Start with wherever you are and make some sort of step forward towards where you want to be. And then see, what's missing, what's working, what's missing, what's next. Did it work? Did it bring me closer to where I want to go. The problem is that people lose sight of where it is that they really want to go. People that are very successful in business, for example, successful entrepreneurs, we hit the wall all the time, where all of a sudden we wake up and we realize, you know what, we got big for the sake of getting big. We're taking action for action's sake. But, what is it that I'm really trying to, remember that how business felt when you first started it and how excited you were to change the world? How do you get back in touch with that? So I don't know that there's one technique that I can point to except to say start with wherever you are and don't make it so big and hang everything on the success or failure of that one specific action. And the other thing that I do want to share with people that I think is critical from a standpoint of influence and persuasion and marketing, online or off, is that the act of developing, if you want to develop a business that is attractive in nature, that has people inspired to a bigger vision for themselves, and you don't want, and you want to communicate that with them, and you want to attract like iPhone does. Every single iPhone launch that Apple does gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger and more expensive, but people love it and they stand in line to buy those products, and it's their idea. And so here's the key thing that I think you've got to really grasp a hold of, and it's we drill down in depth on it in book number 2, where we talk about influence, is that it's a mental journey that goes on in your audience, in your tribe's mind, the people that you're working with. It's their mental journey to elevate you to a position of influence, of trust, of respect, of instant compliance. It is not your job to demand them to follow you. It is their job to elevate you. And if you remember that it always happens, the mental journey that takes place inside their mind, and it's a process of a relationship-building process. And if you can remember that it happens on a mass level, but it happens on an individual level, that there's no such thing as great masses of people out there. They're all individual lives with individual problems and joys and gifts and fears. And if you can talk directly to them, to those people that you can help serve in a really down-to-earth way, not talking down to them, but in talking up to them, actually, and inspire them, then they'll move through this. There's actually a 7-stage mental journey that people go through from going from complete stranger to where I call it like the Oprah effect, where remember when Oprah was on the air and she would just mention something that she really liked, whether it was Ugg boots or some great book that she had read, and all of a sudden, everybody, flocked to buy them and stampeded to buy them. And she wasn't selling it, but because of who she was and the relationship that they had elevated her to in their minds, her audience had elevated her to that coveted, trusted advisor position where they didn't question anything that she said. If she said it, it was the gospel truth, and it was taken with complete, reverence and instantly complied with.
And that happens, there's a progression when you understand the power of your superpower, your ability to influence. And Joshua breaks this down in his books from pages 98 to 119. In each of the chapters, he talks about the fear-based you're an a-hole mental conversation, progressing to the you're a pest conversation, to the you're on probation conversation, right? And then it moves from there to trust. You're like me. Next is you're an authority. Next is you're a leader, right? And so essentially you're moving up the ladder with time. And so how do you give yourself that unfair advantage? Now, if you had to share, Joshua, what would be a strategy someone could use to help elevate their ability to move up that ladder in a natural way, in a non-salesy, non-hypey, non-BS sort of way that so many people attempt to do, but they can use the technologies that are out there, but do it in what you talked about earlier, an authentic, vulnerable way? What would you recommend?
Well, the easiest way to do it, and let me just give you an example of what I'm doing right now. Think about this. I'm reaching your audience. I'm a complete stranger to your audience. But because of your relationship, your trust, your authority, your expertise, you're already at a level 4 and a level 5 conversation with them. In other words, the way they perceive you is a level 4, level 5 at minimum conversation, maybe even level 6, which is you're a leader, and level 7, which is you're my trusted advisor. Anything you say, Dan, I'm involved with. So because you've already influenced them, they're in varying degrees of relationship with you, with your audience, your tribe, right? Now, because I'm on your show, I'm not starting at a level 1 conversation in anybody's mind, because if they wouldn't be listening to your show if they had a level 1 conversation about you. And anybody that you bring on your show instantly carries over and starts at a level 4 or a level 5 probably conversation with them. So the biggest tip that I can give people is that it's not brain surgery. It's the easiest way to get started is find people that already have a circle of influence, a sphere of influence, and tap into it and get them to donate or borrow or let you borrow their influence if you've got something of value to share to their circle of influence, of their audience. If you've got a vision for a bigger future that provides solutions to somebody else's audience, then they should be excited and wanting to share that information with them. And you're not doing anything underhanded. It's completely simple. So that's a quick shortcut.
And I'm going to even feed onto that, Joshua, because why it makes it so easy to have you on a show like this, and we're certainly going to have you on again, and if not even a regular guest contributor, is the ability to be able to, you just provide value in advance, right? Which is what relationship building is all about. Some people go, what can you give me? And instead of going in with the mindset with the what can I give you? And so when Adam Grant's book, Give and Take, talks about it, it's being a giver versus a taker, or someone who just kind of sits on the fence. And so at the end of the day, you're a guy who provides value in advance before you ever expect anything in return. And it's those types of people in the world who seem to achieve the most success done in the right way, utilizing the platform you're talking about. So we've only got a couple minutes. I want to give you a chance to be able to share how people can reach you. But before we do, what would you say, Joshua, why did you create the book in about a minute or less? Why did you create the book? Why should someone consider getting it to help them? What will it do for them?
Well, the reason why I named it The Profit with a PH on the second profit is because when I think about a prophet, I think of two things. One, I think of a lot of things, but primarily I see they see a bigger future. They see it. They don't predict it. It's an absolute. They see something bigger than what is. And then they have the ability to instill the right confidence, the courage, the inspiration that can help other people reach that bigger future. So really, to me, it's ultimate profit leadership, but it's in a balanced way so that you get spiritual happiness that's fulfilling without sacrificing your integrity, and at the same time, you can get as much material wealth serving people rather than at their expense, at their service. So that's, did I answer your question?
Absolutely. Now, as far as how people can reach you, you put together a special resource package for them. So why don't you go ahead and tell them about that and how they can get access to the things you do?
Sure. There's two things that they can do. If they want the book right away, they can buy it at retail on Amazon. It's available right now. Just go to Amazon.com or any of your local bookstore, and it's available there. The Profit by Joshua Shafran. Look it up. The retail on it is $29.95, and it's worth 10 times that, frankly. But I don't want people to have to pay for that are on your show. So I want to give them, if they'll do a small favor in return for me, I want to give them a copy for free. They just have to cover the shipping and handling so that I don't lose my shirt on the deal. But I want to give you a copy for free, and I'll even give you some free gifts if you'll do one small favor, which is help me get some buzz going about the book by reading it and posting your thoughts, positive or negative, by the way, on Amazon so that other people can join the conversation about this book so that we can start getting the word out about what this can do in people's lives and really help them live that balanced life. So if you want to get on that, I'm not quite ready to ship the books. I don't have the full quantities in-house yet, but I will have them probably within a week or so. But if you want to get on the waiting list for that, you can go to limitedfreeoffer.com and join the waiting list, and there's even some special free bonuses there. By the way, if you buy on Amazon, just forward me the receipt at jds@ipbreakthroughs.com. That's jds@ipbreakthroughs.com. You can forward the receipt there, and I'll still give you the bonuses. One of the bonuses is that I'm doing a drill down shadow success challenge, and there's a detailed training about what I'm doing behind the scenes to rebuild my business from scratch. All the advertising campaigns, I'm taking you behind the scenes, showing you how I'm applying these profit principles all the way through, and giving you the in the trenches, back against the wall. What exactly would you do if you were forced to start all over again? Well, I was forced to start all over again. I am starting all over again, and I'm doing it from scratch, so you can be a fly on the wall, so to speak, and join that journey with me, whether you get the book from me when I'm ready to ship them or whether you buy it at retail. But one request that I do have is that if you get from me on the free offer, don't tell anybody else about it, because it is available on retail, from Amazon and several other distributors.
So I want to encourage you to go check out what Joshua's doing at limitedfreeoffer.com, limitedfreeoffer.com. You can also reach out to him at JDS@IPBreakthroughs.com. That's JDS@IPBreakthroughs.com. Not only can you get the book, all you got to do is cover the shipping. He'll also include some special resources that he's packaged for you as well when you go to limitedfreeoffer.com. I want you to think about, what if you could put the principles that Joshua's teaching and, 6 months, a year, 2 years down the road of applying this information. Number one, what if in the next 30 days by applying it, your confidence went up? Right? Your ability to be self-reliant, your ability to be independent. You got better habits, better rituals that you can put in place for you, for your family, for your business, for your community. And what if you had the ability to go out there and start improving your ability to influence, not only one-to-one, face-to-face, but in groups, in email communication? Well, guess what? The strategies of being able to do just that are in this book, and that you can get your hands on today. Right? When you go to limitedfreeoffer.com. On another end, what if you could transform your ability to have business preeminence to be the leading authority in the industry you're in, as the leading expert in the world? Well, it's here too. And Joshua, guess what? We've run out of time overall. I just want to say thanks for having you on, bud. It's a pleasure. It's an honor to have you on. I'd love to do this again right around the corner.
The honor was all mine, and anytime you want or need, I'm there for you, brother.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate it. And folks, go check out what Joshua's doing. Thanks for being a part of our show. We'll be with you next time. Make sure you apply what Joshua's been teaching. Seize the day. Make it a great week. We'll see you next time on growthtofreedom.com.